Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Wednesday, August 5th. First Wednesday of the month, which means we catch up with things going on with the U.S. Social Security Administration, development in Social Security with the Public Affairs Specialist out of the Grand Rapids office, Hillary Hatch, on the other end of our phone line this morning. Hillary, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, Gary. Thank you so much for having me.
And if you have a question about Social Security in general, and in particular, if you are looking to enroll in Medicare, Social Security offices do that for you. And Hillary will be able to answer your question at 616-395-1450. Let's first talk a little bit about the annual report from the Social Security Board of Trustees. Some of the highlights of what would be to some a dry document, but really does involve some very important things for Social Security recipients.
Yeah, so the Social Security Board of Trustees releases an annual report. This year it came out on June 9th, and this is a report that, you know, whenever this comes out, there's usually a lot of media buzz about the report. And when we go out and we are, you know, doing presentations or answering questions from the public, you know, a lot of people ask questions about this and really wanting to know, is Social Security going to be there when I retire? Or if I'm already receiving benefits, you know, what does this report mean in relation to how it's going to impact my benefits? So, like I mentioned, the most recent report came out on June 9th, and the report talks about the financial status of the Social Security trust funds. And so we have two trust funds. There's the OASI and the DI trust fund. So the OASI is the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, and this is the trust fund that is used to pay Social Security retirement benefits. And so the most recent report states that the reserves in this trust fund are projected to become depleted in the fourth quarter of 2032 with 78% of benefits payable at that time. So that means in 2032, we're not going to stop paying Social Security benefits, but we would only be able to pay 78% of those benefits due at that time. Now, our other trust fund, the Disability Insurance, or the DI Trust Fund, the reserves are projected to remain positive through that 75-year projection period. But really what we oftentimes hear in media reports is what would happen if we were to combine those two trust funds. So if we were to combine both of those trust funds, we could pay benefits until 2034 with 83% of benefits payable at that time. So again, if we were to combine those trust funds come 2034, we wouldn't stop paying benefits altogether, but we would only be able to pay 83% of the benefits due at that time. Now, this is if Congress does not act. In the past, there have been changes made to the program to ensure benefits could continue to be paid. One example is the full retirement age used to be age 65, and now it's 67. So there are a lot of suggestions that are out there on what Congress can do or should do, which means that there's also a lot of opinions. So, you know, as we move through the next few years here, I think we're going to hear a lot more about what exactly it is that Congress can do or should do as we move closer to the 2034 date.
Now, when you mentioned about the fact, Hillary, that if Congress does not do anything, these dates would be projected out. I don't want to say should because that's not really your role, but by bringing these out, isn't this more of a case of sounding a little bit of an alarm on this issue?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, this report, it gets released every year, and like last year when we were looking when these funds would become depleted, it was very similar with those 2032 and the 2034 dates. But as we move closer and closer to those dates, it's definitely becoming a real concern. So I think we're going to continue to hear a lot about this because those dates are so much closer in view.
Now, does the report go into any reasons why we are approaching this, or is just simply documenting when these dates are going to come out?
Yeah, so we do have the full trust fund report is available on our website, ssa.gov. And so it's this huge document, and then they also have, it's like a summary of that report, and it's a message to the public. And even that's really long, but there is a paragraph in there that talks about, it does a good job of summarizing the reason that this is happening. And so there are three primary reasons due to, the impact on the trust funds. And so the first one is the assumed ultimate total fertility rate that was lowered from 1.9 children per woman to 1.75 children. So essentially, we're not having as many babies. The second reason has to do with the net total immigration that's lower this year. So with the historical and then the assumed net total of immigration, those two demographics have lowered the projected number of workers. So the projected taxable payroll and the projected GDP over the long range. So that's another reason. And then there's also the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was enacted on July 4th of next year. So that made permanent the ordinary income tax rates and adjusted tax brackets that were originally passed under the 2017, I think it was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So that makes the larger standard deduction of that act. So that's another reason that this is happening. And this is just when we're looking at, this year's report versus last year's report. But if we were to look at the report probably 10 years ago, these three factors were a little bit different.
If you have a question for Hillary Hatch with the U.S. Social Security Administration, 616-395-1450. Here in Michigan, this year, people can have, as they motor about, a commemorative 250th USA anniversary license plate. The distinctive one from 1976 was brought back out for 2026. I was going to get one for my vehicle, and my wife says no. She didn't like it. It said it looks ugly. So I didn't get it. So I thought they were sharp in 76, and I still think they're sharp today. Anyway, along the lines with Hillary is the fact that there are commemorative Social Security cards for newborns to celebrate America 250. Tell us a little bit about that.
So on July 1st, we announced it's really a first of its kind commemorative Social Security card, and that's for children born in the U.S. between July 2nd through December 31st of this year. They are considered a limited edition card. It's going to function the same as a standard Social Security card, but we're going to feature the official Freedom 250 logo in black ink that's on that card. And these cards, they're going to be issued as part of our enumeration at birth process. So that's when parents are requesting a Social Security number during the birth registration process. So cards that are issued outside of that July through December time period and all replacement cards are not going to have that Freedom 250 logo. So that means like if you or I, we request a replacement card during this time period, we're not going to have that logo on our card because, of course, we're not newborns. If you have a baby during this time period and you lose the card and request a replacement, it's also not going to have the 250 Freedom logo on it. So it really is, a limited edition card just for newborns during a certain time period. Just a reminder I want to put out there is no cost for Social Security cards. So I wanted to make sure to to give everyone that reminder. Sometimes we'll have people, calling us, coming into the office and say, I sent in my paperwork, I paid the $20 or whatever it is, and then we tell them, Social Security cards are free. So that may have been a scam.
Yeah, that's don't need to go into that, but oh darn, no. Yeah, granted, I was born on July 2nd, but it was 1958, not 2026. So I can't get that. Anyway, but this is a good time to bring this topic up because you've brought this in the past, and I sort of want to remind people about getting a replacement card. Folks, there are limits, though. Even though it's free to get a new one, you can't get a new one every year. Explain a little bit about the limitations of getting a replacement card. You can get one, but after a while, you won't be able to get any more.
Yeah, so first of all, to get a replacement card, you can either schedule an appointment, or if you have an online account, a My Social Security account, you can request a replacement card online through that My Social Security account, as long as your card you don't need to make any changes unless it's a name change due to marriage. But let's say your name was spelled wrong or the date of birth is incorrect, then you would have to schedule an appointment with your local Social Security office to bring in the proofs that we need in order to issue that replacement card. And you can receive, in a lifetime, it's 3 cards per year or 10 total. We can make some exceptions depending on the circumstances, but again, that is 3 per year, 10 total lifetime.
Okay, I just want to sort of bring that up because from time to time people, do want that. And of course, sometimes you are, and I'll use my own example. A few years ago when I was signing up for receiving Social Security, and I stopped by, I made the appointment at the Holland office and came in, and I showed the staffer at the Holland office my Social Security card, my initial one from now 50 some years ago, and took one look and it says, you need a new card. It was showing wear and tear. So, sometimes you are recommended to get a new card from time to time. There is a process that Social Security Administration, Hillary, is having to assist in the enrollment in the Trump accounts. Tell us a little bit about that.
So let me give you just a little bit of background on what a Trump account is. This is an investment account established for children. It can be established for newborns and children who have a valid Social Security number up until they reach the age of 18. And it's a type of traditional IRA that can be funded either with first-party or third-party contributions. For this year, I believe up to $5,000 can be contributed. That could possibly increase each year. But in July, Social Security started to provide guidance to hospitals to include that Trump account enrollment information during the enumeration at birth process. So again, when someone is having a child and they register for that Social Security number, the forms that they complete, it also now includes where parents can elect to have the automatic creation of a Trump account. If someone chooses to do that, they will receive information that comes from the Treasury Department. If someone chooses not to do that, or maybe they don't have a newborn, but they have a child that they want to open a Trump account for, they can do that using the IRS form. It's a 4547, and they can fill out that form, and they're going to submit that. And it's actually, there is a Trump account app that individuals can download to submit that form. Of course, there's other ways, to submit that form. And again, it's the IRS form 4547. The instructions will tell individuals where to submit that form. And Social Security isn't administering these accounts. You don't submit the form to Social Security. Really what we're doing is just getting the information out there. We're including language on some of our brochures and pamphlets. And again, it's now a piece of that enumeration at birth process.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, yeah, it is a way, to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Hillary, having Social Security not administer the program, but at least getting this information out seems to be natural because, a lot of times people need to go and get a Social Security card or get a Social Security account. This is a natural place. You're just there for one thing. You get some other information as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. One other thing we want to touch upon with Hillary before we button up our conversation for the day is the fact that this month is the 70th anniversary of the Disability Insurance Program. What is it and what does it entail, and how can people be involved if this is a possible program for them?
So the Social Security Disability Insurance Program, also known as SSDI, of course, because we have an acronym for everything, this program was enacted on August 1st of 1956 when President Eisenhower signed the Social Security Amendments of 1956. Currently we have more than 8 million Americans that rely on SSDI. So it's a very important program. It provides essential support to disabled workers and their families. For someone to qualify for Social Security disability, there really is a strict definition for qualifying for those SSDI benefits. So for an individual to qualify, they must have a medical condition that is expected to last at least 12 months or longer or result in death. And they also have to be unable to work at a substantial gainful activity level. So we call this an SGA level. And when we define what substantial gainful activity is, it's really like a dollar amount. This amount typically increases each year. So for this year, that SGA amount is $1,690 gross per month. So let's say someone is applying for Social Security disability benefits, and let's say they have a terminal illness. So we know they meet one piece of the definition. They have this terminal illness, but if they're still working, and maybe it's just 3 days out of the month or something, but if they're still working and they're making over that $1,690 per month gross, they wouldn't qualify for Social Security disability benefits because they don't meet that full definition. If someone, is going to apply for Social Security disability benefits, they have two options. That is either applying online, so you have to create a My Social Security account to apply for benefits online. The other option would be to schedule an appointment. You don't want to just walk into your local office and say, hey, I'm here to file for disability benefits, because they're just going to schedule an appointment for you a different day, different time. So you can either file online or you can call to get that appointment scheduled. And
sometimes, maybe a family member needs to file if it's a sudden accident situation, and disability comes, very suddenly. It does happen, unfortunately, and that's one of the things that needs to be handled in such a dire situation. Speaking about making appointments, which you can do for the Holland office here, call the Holland office at 877-223-6062, 877-223-6062 to schedule an appointment for the Holland office over on Hastings. You can call the office for some help over the phone if possible, but you can also contact the national number Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. at 800-772-1213, 800-772-1213, or go online and only to create your account, but also maybe, you have frequently asked questions, might be able to find the answer. Go to ssa.gov. That is ssa.gov. Hillary Hatch from the U.S. Social Security Administration. Thank you very much for joining us today on Talk of the Town, telling us some of the things going on within the administration. Wish you and everybody at the office well. And if all goes well, we'll do this again in the month of September. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hillary Hatch on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM.
You've been listening to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone.
We want to thank Lexi Casper and Maya Kleinerman from the ODC Network, along with Hillary Hatch from the U.S. Social Security Administration for joining us today on Talk of the Town. The segments have been or will be uploaded to our webpage at WHTC.com, where you can listen or download at your convenience for free in the podcast tab under Talk of the Town. Thanks to Brian Spencer, What's New Around Holland. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for joining us today on Talk of the Town. Tomorrow, we should be joined by Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek and Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker. Following NBC News with Michael Kastner, it will be Lindsay Lawrence's Evergreen Commons Report. For Brian Spencer, I'm Gary Stevens. Thanks for listening to Talk of the Town. Have a good day, and we hope you can join us tomorrow.